So there's some pretty crazy stuff that has been alleged from a very big Infinity Ward developer. They worked on Call of Duty back in the day. In fact, I think they still do, but I know back in the day they made the really awesome, like the OG Modern Warfare Call of Duties. And believe it or not, it has a kind of a tie-in with the very recent events, the huge recent events in the world that have been taking place over kind of the past week now with the Iran-Israel-US war. It has no like actual tie-ins as far as like why the war is going on or anything. I'm not saying Activision is involved with it, but it's kind of related because apparently, you see, these allegations are saying that Activision once pressured Call of Duty's developers to actually make a campaign about Iran attacking Israel, which is kind of just odd considering today's events, this past week's events. And to me, this developer is seeming to allege that this is maybe, a part of some type of maybe possible propaganda. Yeah, we're kind of in for a wild ride on this one. Now, I just want to say this is 100% all alleged. As far as Activision's proposal of this Iran-Israel campaign and Activision's alleged involvement in what could have been a broader form of propaganda from the U.S. government, it is all 100% alleged just from this one developer, just over a few tweets, so just keep that in mind. I'm not saying this actually happened. This is all just a part of a series of posts, that I find very, very interesting, and this just happened just about a couple days ago. Again, pretty crazy considering all the stuff that's just been going on over the past week in the world, and it just keeps on continuing. Just, even today, I mean, there's just story after story after story with this war, with this conflict. It's just kind of never ending right now. And so anyway, getting to the point here, with all of the stuff going on, this former developer brought this up. This is Chance Glasco. He used to be a pretty top dog at Infinity Ward, and he was a big Call of Duty developer back in the day, in my opinion, back in the golden age of COD. Now, he made a post about 2 days ago now on Wednesday, March 4th, and this is the post right here, got pretty viral, 2.1 million views. It was a response to like one of those the montage things that the White House, like the social media of the White House has been putting out recently. That's been quite a bit controversial. Some people think it's awesome, some people think it's terrible, but regardless, it's kind of a compilation video of kind of the progress so far in the Iran conflict with like some Call of Duty stuff going on in the background, like Call of Duty sound effects or whatever. So anyway, Chance Glasco on top there, the post that he made replying to this, he says, "This does not surprise me. I remember after Activision took over post-respawn formation that there was a very awkward pressure from Activision for us to make the next Call of Duty about Iran attacking Israel. Luckily, the vast majority of our developers were disgusted by the idea and it got shot down." Yeah, very big stuff, and there's a lot of parts to this here. Basically, he is saying, just for context, first off here, the setup, that this actually took place post-respawn. Now, what he is talking about is basically there's a thing that happened kind of between 2007 and 2010. I did not know anything about this, but a long story short, basically a bunch of Infinity Ward members left Activision after they were bought out by Activision and they created Respawn Entertainment. It's actually like really, really insane, and if all of the allegations are true, it's pretty bad for Activision's standpoint. But regardless, yeah, just for context, it sounds like this was kind of post-2010, maybe around like 2011 to 2013, maybe around like Call of Duty Black Ops 2 or Call of Duty Ghosts. In fact, if these allegations are true, I would think it's very likely that he would maybe be talking about the early planning of what ended up being Call of Duty Ghosts, because that came out in 2013, and what he's talking about is that this was basically proposed by Activision maybe around 2010, 2011. And so yeah, what he is saying is that possibly around that time, there was pressure by Activision on Infinity Ward on what the specific plot would be about. Basically, he's saying that Activision, the publishers of COD, went to Infinity Ward and basically said, hey, make your next campaign about Iran attacking Israel. And a lot of the developers, it sounds like, weren't very comfortable with this and they shot it down. And then possibly, ultimately, we got Call of Duty Ghosts, which I don't think had anything to do do with that. In fact, I think it was surrounding like the US and South America, I think. So yeah, nothing to do with Israel or Iran. And obviously with Chance Glasco saying this as a response to this video, this montage that the White House put out, basically he is kind of bringing this up in lieu of kind of all the stuff that's been going on throughout the world. But I was quite confused. Like, if this actually is true, I mean, what would be the point and why was it all awkward? Like why would Activision try to pressure its devs to specifically create this campaign about Iran attacking Israel? Well, luckily, Chance Glasco, he actually commented on this with one of the replies to the original post, because like I said, it went kind of viral, and he really expanded on what his point is, and the point is very interesting. Like I said, like the word propaganda comes to mind, all just allegedly, of course, but the reply that he replied to was kind of something that I was thinking. So this person said, terrorist attacks in London and shadow company fighting cartels in Mexico are okay, but Iran attacking Israel is a disgusting premise. And yeah, I was thinking that. Like, why were the devs like disgusted by this? Why does it really matter? A war is a war, and every Call of Duty is about a war, so why was this a bad thing? Well, he says, my point is that the government, he's talking about the US government, would happily use entertainment, including video games, he's referring to COD, as a way to sway public opinion on major issues. There have been decades of pressure for a war with Iran across multiple administrations. The scenarios you mentioned, not so much. Okay, so yeah, basically his overall point is that it could be, if this is all true, that the US government actually maybe pressured or tried to incentivize Activision to kind of put in some propaganda to, what was a gigantic video game at the time, 2013 Call of Duty, obviously Call of Duty was very big at the time. And basically he's saying, and I really can't even confirm this, I am not a history buff at all, so this is just what he's saying, but he is saying that there have been decades of pressure by the US government, so long before the Trump administration, there have apparently been decades of pressure for a war with Iran. So he seems to be making the point that Activision was convinced in one way or another by the US government to have the campaign be quite a bit of propaganda, have it be, Iran maybe as the bad guys and Israel maybe as the good guys. And even back then, 15 years ago, before this current conflict really stepped up, the developers, I guess, maybe kind of saw this for what it was, allegedly, and they basically said, no, we don't feel comfortable doing this, and ultimately, like I said, it didn't happen, and we, I think, got Call of Duty Ghosts as a result. So, yeah, very big stuff, definitely a lot of heavy stuff here, a lot of heavy accusations. Again, 100% not confirmed, none of this is confirmed, it's just what this dev is saying, but given the current situation in the world, given all of the really big world events that have happened over the past week or two, and now seeing these allegations, it's pretty big and, well, very interesting.